Deadheads, a supplementary podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Deadheads, the supplementary podcast to the main Dead Air podcast. Deadheads, again, is about talking about the latest horror movies that came out. And I'm Chris. I'm your main host, but again, I'm joined with our three actual Deadheads. Please introduce yourselves, guys.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emil, the resident A24 horror fanboy, and I'm so happy because today we're talking about two A24 horror films. So I'm excited for that.
Super stoked. Hi, I'm Anthony. I'm the casual horror fan.
Casual once again.
Worst introduction. The worst. Okay. Casual horror fan. Yes.
Hi guys, I'm Franny. I'm the erotica horror fan.
Super niche. I am the super niche horror fan.
Yeah, super niche.
Cool. Okay, so usually we just talk about one horror movie per episode, but this time, since it's been a while, we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna be talking about three different movies.
Yeah.
And
yeah, boy.
Yeah, and this should be fun. So it's gonna be short and sweet per movie. What we did is we had each Deadhead select one movie of their choice. And they're each going to give us basically a plot summary and then what they feel about it. And we're just going to talk about it. So how do you guys want to do this? Is there any order you guys want to do with our films? Or should we just do something super random?
Let's do super random.
Yeah.
Super random.
Okay.
X-Men, the Cellar.
Draw lots.
Randomizer.
Okay. So okay, let's keep the titles. Oh, no one cares. They're gonna see this in the episode title anyway. Okay, so the three films we're gonna be talking about are number one, X, number two, Men, and lastly, The Cellar.
The Cellar.
Yes, so three very, very different. I think really, really different films. To be honest, I've only seen two of the three, so it's gonna be fun talking about this whole thing. Okay, so random. I'm just gonna do an eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then we'll start with that. So eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Here we go. All the time. Go. Okay, Emil, you start.
Okay, great. I'm very excited to introduce the film I chose because this is one hell of an excellent film.
Excellent.
Yeah, you got my pun there. And it's called X, of course, X. And the plot of X, basically, I'm trying to tone it down into its most basic form. A crew, pornographic film crew, decides to make the best porn film in a farmhouse. Mm-hmm. And that's where they meet this old couple who turns out to be something more than they expected. Mm-hmm. And I don't really want to spoil a lot, but it's really a film that you have to watch to get the excitement and the thrill of it.
Yeah. So actually, I think you're right. No, but this is the kind of film where you just want to not know everything about it before going in. It's a lot more fun that way. But super interesting that this is an A24 film. So do you want to give us a quick background, Emil? Who directed it?
Oh, yes. The director is Ty West. Did I pronounce the first name correctly?
Yeah,
yes,
I think
Ty West.
That's right. Ty West.
And Ty West, I think, the other films I've watched from Ty West would be, trying to remember, the one with the haunted hotel.
House of the Devil.
House of the Devil.
That's a good one.
And the Innkeepers.
Yeah, the Innkeepers. And the Sacrament. It's about
I love that.
Yeah.
Jonestown.
X stars unique cast. Very excited about this cast because they're very independent. I think I consider them indie cast. We have Mia Goth, who plays a dual role, and I'm very pleasantly surprised by that. Jen Ortega, of course, our Scream Queen of 2022.
The rising Scream Queen.
Brittany Snow, and the other guys.
Kid Cudi and Kid Cudi and Mike.
There you go.
Great great bunch of people. No, parang earlier this week, people were talking about parang that see Adam Tots, who said this may be a hot take, but is Jordan Peele the best horror
I saw
director
that
there
too.
is? And then like, there's a lot of names you can put ahead of. I
True,
love Jordan
true.
Peele, by the way, but
Yeah.
like when he
There.
said the way he defended it, because it was like, has anyone made three fantastic horror movies in a row? Parang Ty West should be in there for me.
I-
Like,
I think
Yeah.
Ty was
True,
deserves the
true. Yeah,
title.
a lot more horror directors.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Although I think he made one bad movie. I think the Cabin Fever
Cabin.
sequel.
No,
Cabin
you
Fever
don't.
2. Yeah,
You don't
Yeah, it was-
mention the
I've seen that.
cabin
Yeah.
fever.
Yeah, it was so bad that he actually used a pseudonym to give credits instead of using his name.
Okay, I didn't
what are
know
your
that.
thoughts on X, guys? Did you wait? First of all of us have seen it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
All of
seen
us,
X.
okay. So all four of us have seen X. First impressions. Let's go around the table. Let's start with Anthony. You want to start?
Yeah. X is a good watch. Although the only bad side of X is that it doesn't need a repeat watch. It's a very good one-hit wonder to me.
Mhm.
It's a different take on the slashers subtrope. I like the order of deaths specifically. It's not the usual order of deaths that we see, wherein the horror archetype dies first, and then the virgin dies last. No, we don't see that. We don't see that archetypes there.
Yeah.
And probably of all the characters, I really like Brittany Snow's character. It's because she actually broke the stereotype of being that horror stereotype.
Mhm.
Especially the moment that she sang Fleetwood
Wow,
Mac.
it was such a good scene.
Landslide. Yeah, that was a very good scene. It kind of shows that the film is not just all about making porn and that's gruesome. That it's more than what meets the eye. It's about the sadness, the longing, and of course the bad effects of aging. So the
Aging,
moment, it's
That's
more
really
about
aging.
it's definitely a message about aging
And people being in their sexual prime.
Yes.
exactly.
That's really
the repressed and the liberated side of sex. But anyway, what I really like about the film is that it's definitely it's a different take on the slasher subgenre. And the cast, especially Mia Goth.
Mm.
I think this is one of the films where she shined out as the final girl because we often see her as the abused or she gets killed in some of her films.
Mm.
So this is definitely a different take on Mia Goth's character, and of course for Jenna Ortega's character. I don't. Well, this gets kind of spoiler, but they kind of reverse the roles here.
Yeah.
With Mia Goth and Jenna
Yep.
Ortega.
Super. Who's next? Franny, what first impressions?
Yeah. I really love. Sorry, I almost said T. I like Ty. I'm a Ty West fan. I really like the ambience he sets in his movies. Especially like I can compare X to the ambience of the House of the Devil because he's really good at making us fear old people. If you'll recall, the grandmother, the Lola in the House of the Devil had that same really frightening, ominous vibe.
Yeah.
And we saw that again in X. And like what Anthony mentioned, there's that kind of sadness in terms of the aging of a woman and her longing to be back where she was in her prime. When she compares herself to these sexual beings in their pornographic prime. Yeah.
Yep.
And apart from the ambience and like the spooky factors of the film, I was a little bit not as impressed as I was with his previous films. Like for me, it's like it just ended there. Yes, there was that whole gothic sadness. It's like I can compare it to some of ang pretentious, some of William Faulkner's like short story like A Rose for Emily. Parang there's some kind of gothic quality to it because they're in a small town, and you feels kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's like that Southern Gothic shit. But apart from that, maganda din naman pala the ending, yung spoiler alert, when, should I say that Mia Goth turned out to be the daughter of the preacher. So it's like there was some kind of poetic justice. There was some kind of like strong factor, that she was like a formidable, strong person capable of squaring up with these frightening villains.
Mm-hmm.
And then apart from that, yeah, it's like a simple pleasure to watch. Like what Anthony also said, I agree. It's like a one-time enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
So there.
Nice. Okay, we'll get to you now, Emil. You're the big A24 fan. But before that,
Yes.
no, parang, what I want to say, like really quickly, but it's so funny na si Ty West got A24 to do his film, and then he
Which
just
is
gave
good.
them a straight up slasher film.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not that big of like, you'd expect like a lot more allegory and
Psychological.
yeah,
Yeah.
but this is just straight up slasher. And
Yeah.
parang, what did you feel about that, Emil? Parang, like it was like almost like there are a lot of he subverted a lot of tropes, no? Pero like it
Yeah.
was almost, I mean, to the letter in a straight up slasher. What do
Oh
you think of that?
I'll first of all for responding to the points from Anthony and Franny, I would kindly and respectfully disagree that it is a one take film because wow, I was so happy to watch this again for the second time just for this podcast, and I enjoyed it twice as much, knowing what was going
okay.
to happen.
Mhm.
First of all, because it was funny when we were Anthony. I think we were all trying to decide what's this film about, and we were talking about the succubus.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
It was
we were
yeah,
guessing
a
this.
sex demon, and it turns out that the film is just a regular old couple who's a
Yeah.
a psychotic
did
in a
not
way,
expect.
but just
Yeah.
that they're human beings. You're just aiming to kill people. I think that for me made it even better. And I love rewatching the deaths. You know me, I'm a gore fan, of course. And I like the dark comedy in it as well. I mean, spoiler alert, we have the two grown-ups dying because of their age, which is so damn
Yeah.
funny. And I could watch it over and over and over again. And it was just so
So,
unexpected. And that's why I think A24 picked this up because
Mhm.
not because of the symbolic, metaphoric,
Mhm.
whatever. You're gonna find out of that in our next film later. But because it is exactly that. It surprises you at the same time it doesn't. So it's like
Yeah.
it's a treat that takes you away from your expectations. And I think that's what A24 horror films are mostly about.
Ganda, I like that. Parang it surprises you and it also doesn't. Parang yeah, that's pretty much what it is. No, ako when you guys have all read that yung the manifesto na Ty West wrote about
no.
the movie.
No, I
Oh,
haven't.
it's so good. You guys
What
have
did
to read
he
it.
write?
Basically, he said that he wanted to make this movie because horror at the time in the 70s, horror films and porn parang were so not really talked about, but they were like super duper creative because these were two industries that had to work with very very small budgets, and they had to get
Mhm.
around those small budgets by being really really creative. So parang he
Mhm.
wanted to put those two things together and showcase like
Yeah.
because it's like a natural fit, pornography and it's
Yeah, yeah.
both are
Wow.
considered very
Crazy.
low art.
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Porn and horror movies are considered very low art, and but they have this parent spirit that's really like let's just make something like different. Let's make something because we don't have the money. People don't think we're art, so let's just be ourselves. Parang ganon. And so that's how he came up with this. And I really loved his manifesto. I really, really super duper recommend you guys read his manifesto. It's so fun to read. And
Magaling
then
Thank
na
you.
lang.
Yeah,
yeah,
thank you
and then
for the
read that,
recommendation.
and then like watch it again. You're like, I get
Yeah.
what he's trying to do. Parang it's really a love letter to film. So it's like his love letter to porn, to horror, and to
Horror.
film in general. Parang ganon.
Nice.
It's nice though because it makes sense. It goes together really well, horror and
Mm.
porn. I mean, from the Resident Erotica.
Yeah. from our expert.
Did you get enough porn from
Yeah.
X?
Ganda.
Or
Yeah.
did you need more porn?
I really honestly I super enjoyed this movie. I did not expect it to be super straight up slasher. Kaya I
Yeah.
think I even loved it even more. because of that, because it wasn't what I expected.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of this. Yeah, and I still have to watch the second time. I hope I'll have Emil's experience na parang maganda din pala yung second
Maganda
time.
mas pala.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And excited for the prequel film,
the
Pearl.
prequel,
Pearl.
definitely
Yeah.
Pearl. I can't wait for that. Okay,
That might be better pa nga, no? Because of
It
the
could be,
whole
it could be.
religious trauma.
yeah.
The setting.
The setting, yeah. Then you can find out like how she ends up like that.
Yeah,
You know,
probably
enslaving
repressed.
men.
Yeah,
Yeah.
repressed.
Probably
abused.
repressed.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's up my alley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Last words on X. We'll end with you, Emil, since this is your choice.
Yeah. I know.
No, we'll end with you. We'll end with you.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
We'll start with Franny or
I was
Anthony, whoever wants to. go.
excited.
Anthony lang.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll start. By conclusion, X is definitely an enjoyable film, but I'll repeat what I've said. It's definitely a one-hit wonder for me.
Sure.
I really like the subversion of the tropes, the reversion of the roles, and it's taken the slasher genre. You know, it's something we did not expect at all, and I'm definitely looking forward to see Pearl and what Mia Goth can do in the future.
Nice. Franny?
Yeah, so I do recommend X to Ty West fans because it definitely has his flavor, and it also has that, for me, homage to like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and those old slashers, even like Psycho. Psycho comes to
Yep.
mind because of the small town and the old people. And like what Anthony said, I'm really looking forward to the prequel, probably more than I have higher hopes for it because of the whole religious. I'm assuming that it will have that because of Pearl's parents.
Nice. And Emil?
Yeah, just like what everyone said, those are great points for watching this film. And whether it's porn or gore that you want, this film will titillate in a way that you've never probably experienced before in other films. So go and watch X.
Awesome. Yeah. Mine. Might be one in my top 3 of the year so far.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, big, super duper big fan. Honestly, it might have a lot to do with that
The
manifesto,
manifesto.
and then
yeah.
finding
Baka
out
nga.
parang finding out what he really wanted to say
Oo.
with this movie. Because it's really a love letter to filmmaking. Even the first shot, if you guys remember the first shot, how he
Yeah.
frames the first shot, it looks like it's through the barn doors. But the way
Yeah.
he makes it look like it's the the not the widescreen but the how
Yeah, yung
films were
parang,
shot. With,
yung what the aspect ratio,
the aspect
yeah.
ratio is of the 70s, and then he pushes in and then it becomes the widescreen shot. Parang when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah. So this is really about film. Super pretentious, but yeah. Super pretentious reading, but yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
I want to end with men. So let's
I knew
go
it.
with The Cellar for our second film, chosen by Anthony. So Anthony,
Yes.
please introduce The Cellar. What it's about, and who's involved.
Okay. The reason why I chose Cellar is for a couple of reasons. One is because I want something divisive. I want something divisive to be discussed. Second, it marks the return of Alicia Cuthbert to horror after so many years. And then third, it's an Irish film production, which I really like.
Mhm.
The Cellar is pretty much simple. It's about a family who bought a house in the middle of the woods. And the previous owner of the house is an eccentric mathematician who is harboring some dark secret beneath the cellar. And then along the way, we see familiar tropes for haunted house horror. And then we eventually get to discover that the house, or not just the cellar in particular, harbors a really dark secret that could potentially break your sanity. And as what I said earlier, it's definitely Alicia Cuthbert's return to horror is the main reason that I'm picking this film because, as we all know, she's created names in the past because of House of Wax and then Captivity, and then after that she went into mainstream roles, and then went out of the horror scene. So for me, what I really like the film is it has a different concept when it comes to haunted house horror, because not only that it harbors gothic horror elements, it's a little bit Lovecraftian to me, especially on how they are trying to discover the secrets of the house or the cellar in particular, and then it ends up being a satanic panic movie after all.
Oh
So
shit! Really?
Nice.
yeah, so it harbors all those elements. It plays all those elements, but the reason why I'm saying that this is pretty divisive is because, to be honest, if you're someone who likes A24 horror films, and if you've watched the movie, you can actually finish the film in 10 minutes. So that's how simple the movie
The
is.
story is.
Yeah. Had they used the internet, had they asked someone before purchasing the house, then the movie would have ended.
True. Background
first
checks are
place.
important.
Yeah, background checks are important. So that's one of my biggest gripes about the movie. And number two, it uses a lot of reused horror tropes, like
Like-
the parents going out and then leaving their children alone in the house, and then
Yeah.
letting their children touch unfamiliar stuff. You know, those very familiar horror tropes. We've seen that. And it has been reused all throughout. So, and that bums me a lot. But what I really liked about the movie is the concept being part Lovecraftian, part satanic panic horror movie, and the mathematical equation. So, yeah, overall, it's really that mathematical equation that is actually a portal to another dimension. So, yeah, I think that's if you're into concepts like that, then this movie might be your cup of tea. But other than that, probably if you're someone who's really into A24 horror movies and all, this might not be your cup of tea.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen it now, so this is very refreshing to me. Now we're talking about a movie now I haven't seen, so it's a different viewpoint for me. I know you're a big fan of Lovecraftian, Anthony. So
Yeah.
now, well, actually, you explaining this film, parang it's gotten me a little excited to watch it. How about you guys? Have both Emil and Franny, have you both seen this?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I have.
Okay, then let's jump to Emil. What do you think?
Like
of
what
The
Anthony,
Cellar.
like what Anthony mentioned, it just reuses tired tropes in horror,
Mhm.
and that part alone made me a bit impatient, I guess, or
Okay.
didn't really make me focus a lot on the horror film. But I do agree that the mathematical part of this film made it at least a bit more interesting.
What's
And
the
I do-
mathematical part? Sorry, is that a super spoiler or?
It's basically this equation that
Mhm.
the family uncovers while they're in the house, and apparently this equation is a gateway for them to unlock the dimension to hell.
Yep.
So
okay.
Yeah.
so if you're afraid of math,
Ganda.
this is definitely a horror film for you.
Okay.
But like what Anthony said, I would have really preferred if the film focused more on the discovery part, on the members of family figuring out, trying to unlock the mystery of this equation, more than just the tropes, the unending tired tropes that we see in the film. And for me, I really wish it wasn't, in the end, spoiler alert, about a demon. Because if it's a haunted house, it's automatically connected to a demon. But anyway, I would have really wanted it to pursue that Lovecraftian direction. Like it's not a demon, but it's like a different dimension all throughout. Like perhaps another creature from another dimension.
Sure.
Sorry, I have to interrupt that. I
Yeah.
do believe they did discuss that. They did mention about Leviathan,
Leviathan,
if
yeah.
I'm not mistaken. So they're actually they're actually trying to cross the Lovecraftian territory, but in the end, it ended up being a demon movie.
Demon,
after all,
yeah. So
which kind of irks me. But yeah, they did try to use Lovecraftian tropes like people getting insane, the dimension thing, and then the portals, and then haunted house tropes, the fear of the unknown. So they are trying to cross the border, but at the end, it fell flat.
yeah. But for me, like the best parts of the film were the ones where you don't. There was a creature, but you don't know what it was at first.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
What was the
the
creature?
the shot wherein the camera was going up the stairs, and then you have the main character who's cowering in fear. You can just see her hair being blown away by the breath of the creature. So you're not entirely sure what this is. And I wish that they kept it that way. But-
May big reveal ba?
Yeah, there is a big
Yeah,
one.
there is a
okay,
big
okay,
reveal.
okay, okay.
Can we spoil it, Emil?
Yeah,
yeah.
yes, good.
It's the Baphomet.
The demon.
Oh.
I have
As in-
questions about the film.
Yes.
Like, was there a mathematician who used to live in the house who created the?
Yes.
Yes.
See,
Yes.
It was literally a mathematician.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah,
So
he is a
he died
mathematician.
na. He
Yeah.
just left it in
Yeah,
the house.
yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
okay.
That's why you do your background
Uh.
checks. Make sure there's no Latin or weird symbols in the house you're moving into.
So he was a Satanist.
Yes.
Yes. Probably Faustian or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Cool.
Well, actually, you guys
Sana
are
they
really
showed.
criticizing it, but I really want to watch it.
yeah,
Yeah.
kasi may mathematician pa.
I find it interesting. I really like the concept. Although execution wise, it's not
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
best.
yeah.
movie.
Just have
This
to be
was a
patient.
Shudder original, no?
Mhm.
It is.
Nice. Awesome. Shudder originals, because they're really hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of like B movie style, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they-
Some, yeah, but there are some that are
There's
so
some
good.
really
yeah,
great gems
there are some
there.
memorable. Like the Jackson, anything for what was that?
Oh yeah,
Anything-
Sandra
yeah.
Jackson.
Yeah,
It is a great
Wasn't that
film.
so good? That was so scary.
The Teeth Demon.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. So good.
that was scary.
But there are a lot of good movies to Shudder, like Hellbender.
Yeah,
Oh God, Hellbender. My God, that might be my favorite this year. Honestly,
yeah, it's so
Wow.
crisp.
yeah, super punk rock.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. I love it so much.
The Sadness. I think the Sadness is also a
Oh, I
Shudder.
haven't
Yeah,
seen that yet.
sadness.
Oh, Franny, you would
so
enjoy
good.
that. It's very
Really?
depraved.
Yeah.
Oh
very
my
depraved,
God, you will
Franny.
love
Yeah,
the
it's very
sadness.
depraved.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll watch that soon.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you for that, both you guys. Because again, me and Franny haven't seen it. But I want to watch it. I mean, parang it sounds very, it sounds divisive. Nga. Just listening to
Mhm.
both of you. You guys have different takes on it, but I'm down. I want to watch.
Yeah, yeah. Still
I
sounds
do like
interesting.
their vision of hell. Yeah, that's
Mm.
another thing. So
Yeah.
That shit really scares me when
Me
it's like
too.
talking about hell. Like
Yeah, I love
One of-
occult horror.
like
Yep.
one of my favorite horror films is it's not even well reviewed, but Event Horizon.
Yeah,
that's a
so
good. That's a very
scary.
good movie.
Holy
That's
It's
God,
like
but-
very good.
space action but
Wait.
horror hell.
And
Space
then the
horror.
second they reveal hell, that's when I was like, oh God. But it
Yeah.
pushed everything up to 10.
Yeah,
And I was like,
exactly.
wow, this is
It's
fucking
like hell.
terrifying.
It's like Hellraiser in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I already have that copy. I'm watching that. I was jumping between this or the next film, and I decided on the next film. And actually, I'm glad I did, because I think I have a lot to say about the next film that we're going to be talking about, which
Another
is
divisive one.
This is going to be a
Yeah,
divisive
I
one,
agree.
feel.
It's
This is
divisive.
Or I don't know.
divisive.
This might be. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. So the next film is Men, chosen by Franny.
A woman.
Chosen by a woman. Okay.
Just
By a
right,
woman.
yes.
Yeah, just right. The victim. Okay.
So Franny, tell us about your choice, who's involved, and quick summary.
Okay. So Men is directed by Alex Garland, who, as you may know, directed Ex Machina and Annihilation and Devs, but I haven't seen the series. So it's about this woman who was recently widowed. Her name is Harper. So as we see in the flashbacks early on, it was a very traumatic death of her husband, and she takes this little soul vacation to a small town, like an Airbnb, to this beautiful old house. And you can see from the beginning that it's already very isolating, because it's like no one lives in the town and she's by herself on the retreat, on the getaway. So as you go on watching, you figure it out that she is quite isolated or like by herself, and the only people inhabiting that town are men who you will find are played or are in the are one man in many forms. So
Mhm.
it's like it's not just a secret made by the movie, but she herself starts to realize that they're all the same man and they're all very awful to her. They all let her down in some way, and things spiral out of control from there. It becomes a very terrorizing watch, and it's also like an analysis of like her grief, because there are many parallelisms to her traumatic experience that are happening in a horrific way to her by those, let's say, magical men in the story.
Mhm.
So without giving away the freak ending that you guys were freaking out about, that's pretty much the plot.
Yeah, the ending.
Yeah.
We'll get to
Yeah.
that now. This is for me. This is the ultimate A24 film. This is like the kind of movie na I could have written like a thesis on for my final paper in film class. Parang
Wow.
it's
Full
yeah,
of
no,
symbolism kasi.
yeah, it's like
Yeah, there's a
full
lot
of
of
allegory and symbolism,
Yeah,
and parang
yeah.
like I was racking my brain. I came up with my own, and then I read up on it afterwards, and I was like,
Yeah.
so I did get some things I think correctly, but yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think first. So first impressions, Anthony, what's your first impression of Men?
To be honest, I still need to rewatch the film because
Mhm.
I did 3 rewatches and I still did not get the other parts of the
3?
film.
Holy
Yeah.
shit!
Wow.
I want to understand the film in my own perspective. That's why I wanted to rewatch the film until I totally understand all the symbolism. But I did understand. But for me, it's definitely about the Green Man, the god of vegetation. I think this is a folk horror movie too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
The moment that she steps into that church, she sees the symbols of the Green Man and I forgot the name of the other symbol. It's about the vulva. It's definitely a folk horror film. So, but there are parts of the film that are still I'm still trying to decipher all throughout. So, but the end part for me, it's about the birth. It's about the life cycle of the Green Man.
Mhm.
His birth, his life, his death, and then he comes back to life again. And definitely, Harper is just an object of infatuation for the Green Man. That's why at the end of the film, spoiler alert, she gets pregnant, and probably it's also an implication of Harper's grief and her ordeal with with her husband. And at the end of the film, eventually accepting the loss and her grief. So that's why she submitted to the Green Man. That's my own understanding of the film, but I know that they still have a lot to understand about the whole film in general, especially the Green Man's connection to Harper. How I still have a lot of questions, but I don't want to spoil them out here. But yeah, for me, it's overall about the life cycle of the Green Man and Harper's ordeal with grief and how she overcame it.
Cool. Emil, first impressions.
Watching this trailer, parts of a trailers, I don't really watch trailers fully, so I don't get spoiled. Knowing that Rory Kinnear would play all the men, by the way, is incredible.
Yeah.
Props to Rory Kinnear and
Bravo.
Jesse Buckley for the acting powerhouse shown in this film.
Yeah.
This would have something to do with Jesse's character dealing with the trauma that men has caused in her life. And that exactly was the case when her her husband was the cause of all her grief and trauma. And like what Franny said, it was reflected back when she was isolated in a cabin by all the men that she encountered in that small town. And for me, aside from it being a movie about how a woman copes with the trauma and grief, it shows how sometimes men can be the most horrifying monster for a woman. And this is encapsulated by how, of course, she's always being hunted, stalked, gaslit, threatened by all the
Rape.
men,
Yeah.
raped. Even the vicar, right?
Yeah.
This is a simple act of touching her thigh and telling her that and telling her that you didn't feel guilty about what you did. It's really something
Telling her it
horrific.
was her fault.
Yeah, something horrific for women. And when the green man metaphor came in, that's when he realized. I think they were trying to show how this kind of toxic masculinity and the way men would mistreat women goes into a cycle. Hence, that was the imagery at the end when
That's exactly my reading.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
birth upon birth upon birth.
Yeah, you give birth to yourself.
Generations of
Generations of
yeah.
no, it's just a
Yeah.
repeat cycle. No, if
That was also
you're
my
toxic,
reading.
you give birth to a
Mhm.
toxic male who
Yeah.
gives birth to a toxic male.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end, I enjoyed how Jessie Buckley's character was, because at first she was shocked and terrified, but at the end she was just like
Relieved.
this relieved and disgusted, like, oh, it's you again. It's like
Mm.
she finally found a way to conquer her grief and trauma, leading to that ambiguous ending
Yeah, with her friend, right?
with her
Who was
friend.
also
Because
pregnant.
Riley.
apparently all of it is real. I thought it was just all
Yeah.
in her head, but the blood trail was still there.
Yeah.
The signs of the struggle was still there. So for me, what does it all mean? And that is
Yeah.
an A24 film, ambiguous
She
with
went to a fucked
metaphors.
up town talaga.
Yeah. So there you go.
Ako yung what I ano, oh God, it's super rich na it's really so fucked up. Ako with my reading of it was parang it's really it's two things that there's just two timelines. It's just before the death of her husband and after. So everything leading up to before they broke up. It's the marriage and after the marriage. So the marriage is parang represented by. Okay, stop me if I'm getting way too pretentious. The marriage is represented by the Garden of Eden. Everything after that
It's like the
is
fall.
the fall, like Adam and Eve being cast out of the garden.
Yeah.
I said, like there was that metaphor of like when she went into that garden, first thing she did was eat a fruit,
the
and then the guy was like, "That's the forbidden fruit." And then, diba, she crossed over that tunnel, and parang it was so beautiful. Pa at the beginning, that she's singing, and then there's an echo, and then when she went out of the tunnel, then the world was like so fucked up now and everything. So my reading is like that's how she saw her life pre-marriage and after marriage. It was like everything was okay, and there are literally only two men in this movie. It's her husband
and
every single person after.
Yeah.
Because
green man.
after her husband betrayed her, then to her, every man is the same.
Oh.
They all look the same now. So it doesn't matter if they're different people, if they have different motivations, they're just the same. Because after that,
And gonna
this
treat her the
extreme
same.
betrayal, now she's noticing like men are fucking toxic. They're all the same.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
her
all the
her
same.
perception has changed.
Yeah.
You guys are all the same. And that's why the end is that really horrifying end is parang that parang solidifies this theory now. Yeah, you guys are fucking toxic. You guys empower each other. You guys make each other toxic, and you're gonna give birth to a toxic kid who will give birth to a toxic kid. And it's never gonna end because you are all the same. That's why you have all the same face. Parang ganun.
Yeah.
That's my reading.
Mind blown.
That's my reading. So parang when I was like you guys said that watch it drunk, so I did watch it drunk, and I did not understand what the fuck is going on, dude. Like I was like, I don't understand what's happening. I don't understand what's happening. And then slowly, every time they go back to a flashback, and then they reveal more about her relationship with her husband. Parang the story was making more and more sense for me. Parang it was really like like the husband is like super gaslighter.
Yeah.
And like and then
Gaslighting is there.
soup, and then I was like, oh fuck. So I and then I really got to appreciate towards the end. Like I had like 3 beers while watching the movie, and at the end of the third beer, I was like, wow, this is like I was like so horrified. Sa climax of the film, but
definitely.
But spoiler alert, like so the men give birth to more men, but there's a lot of close-ups of male vaginas and birthing and all that stuff, and it's really horrifying, honestly. But yeah, but it just made me like really sit down and think, but what is he trying to say? What is Garland trying to say? Because like this can't just be random images. So it really
Yeah.
forced me to just
I just yeah.
yeah. Go
I
ahead.
just
Go ahead.
I just literally thought about it now that I just realized right now that it might be a symbol of Harper herself seeing the possibility of giving birth to a child as
Mm.
something that she doesn't
Mm.
want, like
Oh
something
yeah,
that
yeah.
she will totally fear. Like I also didn't pick up on the fact that she might possibly be pregnant, but
Pregnant.
Mm-mm.
that could be a premonition for her that she absolutely detests or fears and has like pre-traumatic disposition to now of giving birth to a child that is going to be just like her dead husband.
Yeah.
And like since the green man had all these similar injuries
Yes. Of as
that
her
her dead
husband.
husband had when he fell off the building, it also seems to be that this man is just really an a repetition or a revelation of what she went through with her husband. So
Mhm.
he's just like a mirroring
Yeah.
of of what she went through with
Mhm.
him all over again. Like it's her
Trauma.
or it's like her reliving.
Sure.
It's her processing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's her
Processing her trauma.
processing
Yeah.
of what happened.
Yeah.
Because maybe she was in denial about it or like pushing it to the
Mm-mm.
back of her head. But her being in that town by herself is like her rehashing everything and going through it
Mm-mm.
and seeing just how fucked up it was.
Yeah.
And also the apple that she took, it also made me feel like it's double horror because it's like it's even blaming womankind
Yeah.
for the
It's-
toxicity
exactly.
of man. It's like if she
It was
hadn't
her fault,
eaten
diba,
that,
who
yeah,
drove him to suicide. That's what the priest said.
yeah, like if she hadn't
Yeah.
eaten the apple, if Eve herself, the first woman, hadn't eaten the apple,
Exactly. Yeah.
none of these horrible men would
Mhm.
be like bugging women to
Yeah.
this day.
You would still
So-
be in paradise. Parang ganon.
yeah, so
It's
even
women's fault. Parang ganon.
yes,
Yeah.
like at the end of the day, it will always be woman's fault, and that's just like utter horror for
Wild.
me. Yeah,
It's dude. I honestly I didn't understand what was going on, but like now that I've had a lot of time to process it and watch it, and this is an incredible movie for me. I'm
Yeah.
a super big Garland fan actually. I read all his books. You guys know he wrote The Beach. Have you ever seen that? The movie, the Leo DiCaprio movie.
Leo DiCaprio.
yeah, no.
Yeah,
did he
that's him.
direct it or he just
No,
wrote it?
he just wrote the book. The book's incredible. It's so good.
Yeah,
And he also wrote a book set in the Philippines because he lived here. He lived here in
Oh,
Manila for a
wow.
long time.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
See Alex Garland. Yeah. And I understood this way more than I did Annihilation. Guys, I even after watching Annihilation twice, I still don't know what happened in
That's
that movie.
true.
I
Yeah.
love Annihilation, but yeah, it's
But parang I'm super floored by this film, honestly.
I just want to add something. I
Yeah.
also discovered after rewatches that the guy, the Green Man, he was actually the prime minister in one episode of The Black Mirror.
Yeah, the one who had to fuck the pig.
Fuck the pig.
Is that guy?
Yeah,
No,
that's
is that dude?
such a scary
That's
episode.
him.
Also,
I also another
Penny
one.
Dreadful, Penny
Yeah, yeah.
Dreadful.
Penny
Penny
Dreadful.
Dreadful.
Yeah.
He's
He's
He was so
Frankenstein.
good there.
Yeah, he's a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
Rory
I love him.
Frankenstein's
Yeah.
monster.
Rory
Yeah.
Kinnear.
He's a
And
really
then-
good actor.
And then another one. I think there was one scene wherein Harper was calling in police. The woman and the operator. She was a Garland alumna. She's Japanese. I forgot her name, but she was in most
Sunshine?
Garland films.
Oh, wow.
Sonoya Mizuno. Yeah, that's her name. She was the Asian chick in the robot in Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And she was
The
also
dancer, yeah.
in, and she was also in Annihilation, but she was a supporting role in Annihilation. So
Alex Garland shared universe.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah, he has his own.
I
universe.
like it when directors always have the same muse as actors.
Super.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow, that was awesome. Yeah, see, my when I was watching it last night, my wife kept coming out to the door, and she's like, "The hell are you watching?" Because She had to wiki it, and she was just like, "What is this movie?"
And I think that's where the divisiveness is coming from,
Yeah.
because it's just perhaps too deep in all its themes and
Yeah.
too metaphorical. But in the end, after you've like, I guess, submerged yourself for a while, you probably start to understand what it's all about.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Any last words on Men, guys? We'll end with Franny. Emil?
As an A24 fanboy, I appreciated this film, of course, but all the more, please watch this film for Jesse Buckley and Rory Kinnear's acting. If we can't deal with male pregnancy and very deep themes, at least watch it for them, because they're excellent there.
They're excellent. Anthony?
Okay. I have a lot of thoughts about the movie. I have a lot of interpretations, but upon hearing all of their interpretations, to me, it kind of makes sense that it's all about toxic relationships. Because I was trying to view it on the concept of paganism, but in the end, it was more about relationships. So, but I will definitely rewatch the movie, and it is a must see for a 24 horror fan and those who are into elevated type of horror.
Yeah. Must see. I agree. Must see.
Yes.
Franny?
Yeah, so I agree with all of you. It is a must see. I really love movies where there's really pleasing scenery, like the beautiful house, the interiors. Especially since you know that you're going to watch a horror movie and everything looks so beautiful. I love that kind of juxtaposition, or like irony, that what you're looking at is so beautiful, but there's something ominous or eerie in the entire vibe of it, or like the soundtrack, or the atmosphere. And I feel like Alex Garland is really good at that, because it's the same familiar sense of slight foreboding, but you're put in such a trance because the forest is so beautiful. And I love movies like this where you can discuss your questions at the end, because it's so open to interpretation. It's the kind of movie that you think about and that perhaps you want to watch again. I mean, at least for me as a woman, I appreciated. I felt heard and understood by the issues that were like, it's quite relatable in general to see a woman who is being treated that way by men. So as a woman, I really enjoyed it because it's like relatable, and it's just a really beautiful movie to watch for me.
Awesome. Yes, 100%. Agree with all you guys. Wow. Okay, so that basically wraps up this episode. Guys, I really enjoy this format. I think we should switch to this format.
Wow,
because it also is a lot fresher because we cover more films.
Exactly.
A lot of times parang stale na yung movie when it comes out, our episodes come out. Yeah, let's do this again. Let's do this format again. I really enjoy it.
So we choose again movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nope.
Yes.
The black phone.
But next episode, I think Anthony's suggestion that we do a mid-year best of the year so far. I think I really want to do that. I'm excited to do that. So let's do that first before another regular episode.
Nice.
I want to see your lists.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that wraps up this episode of
Yeah.
Deadheads. Thank you guys.
Okay,
That was
thank
Thank you very much,
Thank
guys.
you.
It was fun. Thank you.
Very fun.
Okay, so we'll see you guys next episode. And very soon, hopefully.
See you.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Sakto, pero.